program, like Being Amazed, plenaries, the whole.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get going, and maybe some more people will trickle in as we do this.
Matches.
Is that empty?
No, it has one in it.
There's more. Inspired by the Reverend Sarah Lewis, I thought I would light our chalice with my favorite quote that changed my life by Theodore Parker, which is, don't ask, now how I can, don't ask
What the world.
Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what you need and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who, oh no, don't ask what the world, I'm going to get this right. I had it right like 5 minutes ago in my head. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what brings you alive. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. That inspired me to go to seminary. All right, welcome this morning. Linda and I have been asked to talk about the General Assembly. So we're going to start with Linda.
Oh, okay. Here I am about to sit down. So the first thing to tell you is that as a born and raised Unitarian Universalist, whose mother was exceptionally active, my first General Assembly was at age 12 in Boston, Massachusetts in 1969. And at that time, GA was basically held in hotels. And so it was held in the Statler Hilton, that's right off the Boston Commons, across the street from, what's the church? Arlington Street Church, thank you. Arlington Street Church. And the whole thing was contained in the Statler Hilton. You didn't have to leave to go to any of the meetings. Everything was right there. Unlike today, when we will take over, I mean, at some times, we will take over a college campus, and there will be 1,000 people attending. So it's changed a lot over the years. I looked through the list of where GAs had been this morning and counted that I have been to somewhere in the range of 20 over my life and my career. And there's a lot that goes on at General Assemblies. Now, the basic reason that we have General Assembly is that it's our annual business meeting. And so we have our plenary sessions where we get to do the business of the denomination. We receive reports and we see financial records and we vote on budgets and that sort of thing. We do changes to the bylaws, we enable initiatives. As I say, we get reports. We also hear from some of our affiliate organizations. We have the Women's Federation and the Service Committee, to name two. All of our elected officials, our moderator, our president, and various department leads will come and tell us what's going on, what they've been doing over the last year. And this is where new initiatives get announced and enacted. In addition to that, there are workshops. And more workshops than you could even imagine happening. Lots of different choices of things to do. There are opportunities for celebration and for learning. You'll find new curricula being launched at General Assembly, explorations of social justice initiatives, authors who come and do readings and discuss their work. And, you know, maybe a congregation who's been wildly successful at their religious education program will come and lead a workshop with their philosophy and their program. Just about anything you can imagine will show up there at one time or another. And then there are celebrations that we have at GA. Every morning, there's a shared spiritual practice. And then we have just all kinds of excellent worship. For those of us who lead worship routinely, it is one of the great pleasures to be able to go and sit as our colleagues offer their worship. The big service, there are two big services. One is the Service of the Living Tradition, which is an opportunity to recognize UU professionals at various transitions, and that includes pretty much all sorts of religious professionals, so our religious educators, our ministers, our administrators, the whole range of staff can take part in that. And that's our Service of the Living Tradition, and Sunday morning worship. And one of the delights of Sunday morning worship is that they put together a choir every year, bring in a UU music director, and they lead this massive choir, probably, what would you say, 100 voices? Yeah, upwards of that. And there's always awesome preaching. In the midst of it all, there's also things like a bridging ceremony for teens who are in the transition to young adulthood. One of the things I love most about GA is that there are also these random interactions with people from all over who share this faith with us. The person who sits next to you at a plenary might become a new good friend. Where to go? The sense of being part of something that is so much bigger than we experience week to week in our congregations, and recognizing and knowing that we're part of something that's much bigger than we experience day to day, and that there are so many people out there helping to heal the world in ways that are big and small. The life of Unitarian Universalism really is our congregations, not so much this national thing, where we explore what it means to be human in these times, and where we build community that cares and supports us and that challenges and uplifts us through time. But there's something really worthwhile and powerful about being in the presence of so many people whose hearts lean in the same way that yours does, in the same way that mine does. And even with, there's the old saw about, 2 Unitarians, 3 opinions, that description of us. I probably shouldn't repeat that, but it's so apt. It's hard not to. The other thing is that being in the presence of so many people, this large, wider community, and being able to feel the power and the love that permeates through the room, even amidst disagreements and heated discussions. You better believe there are heated discussions. To do that is truly a wonder, and it's a wonderful experience. I'm actually a little sad now that I'm not serving a congregation. I don't have professional expenses because GA is very expensive, and I won't be able to be there in person, though I'm hopeful to be taking part in this next one, which is all online. That's pretty much what I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm Nancy Reid-McKee, and I am on the newly formed Denominational Affairs team that includes Linda and Tiffany and Kristen. And one of the things that we're trying to do is really raise the awareness of the fact that we are just one of the UU churches in this country. I can't tell you how often people come up to me and say, I can't believe that the UUA sent me this minister. Or I can't believe that the UUA did this. And I don't say it, except in my mind, I always want to say, the UUA did not do that because the UUA doesn't actually have the authority to do that. It is the authority of the churches. So I think it's very important for people to recognize that we're autonomous and we have, what we do here impacts what the UUA does. So we're the ones who actually direct the UUA and what they can do. So one of the roles that I have on the national level is I'm the chair of the Commission on Social Witness. And we have a number of processes that we do. And what people don't realize is that a lot of people say, well, the process that we're using is out of date, and I agree with it. But the people at the national level keep on saying, but your role is important because we can't do anything if the congregations don't vote that they want to do this. So I'm going to talk about a few things today that are coming up for voting at the General Assembly. And this is what I want to talk about, is the role, the importance it is for us as a congregation to be involved in the General Assembly, which is the business work of our faith. Carbon put together, I sent these to him at 5 o'clock yesterday, so I'm very impressed that although we were both at the dinner, we've still got slides going here. So I really wanted to talk about why the General Assembly is important for me. Now, I'm an institutionalist. I believe in institutional power, and I believe we can harvest power to work for justice and to make the world work better. So it's what Mary was talking about this morning is about how people are distrustful of the institution. Well, one of the things I would like to do is I would like to redefine the institution and take the sort of teach us all how to use the institution for good and how we can work together. Linda was talking about the choir that's so powerful because it has 100 voices. Well, it's powerful because it's got 100 voices. One person does have a powerful voice. 100 voices is even more powerful, and that's how I always talk about why institutions are important, because it harnesses all of our collective energy. So the work of the General Assembly this is where the congregation directs the national organization by sending delegates to consider and then vote on issues on behalf of the congregation. So this is a very important work that we choose delegates. This church has 6 positions to fill that we can send to the General Assembly, and they are the people who represent this congregation. So it's important that the people in the congregation actually know what it is that they're sending the delegates to vote on. Because I can't tell you how often, I remember one year being at one of the General Assemblies and someone was talking on behalf of a congregation that was local, and my jaw just dropped and I thought, do they know who they sent to the General Assembly? Because this person certainly does not represent the values of their congregation. So this is something we pay no attention to very often. We're just happy to find someone to fill the role, and yet they are representing us at the national level. So we need to be really paying attention to this, I think. Okay, what we got next? I wanted to talk about the things that are coming up that the delegates are going to be voting on this year, because the church should know what the delegates are voting on. So there are business resolutions. So many people come up to me and complain about the ministers who are leading their congregations And they'll say things like, I can't believe the UUA let him into ministry. I can't believe that the UUA assigned this minister to our church, without the full understanding that actually the UUA has very little control over the ministerial process, that any church can call anyone to be the minister. It's not that the UUA doesn't direct it. They have a list of people who they suggest may be qualified to be ministers, and they can direct the process that helps churches find people who might connect with them. But ultimately, it is the church itself who chooses the minister for their church. And they may or may not follow some of the guidelines that the UUA suggests. But as a result of this, also, if you look in the UUA bylaws, they have little control over what can happen during some of these processes. So 2 of the things that are being voted on this year are actually to try and give the UUA a little bit more control over the search process for ministers. And one of it is that second one, the authority to suspend a minister's search process, because right now they don't have the authority. And they will often know, and this has happened, unfortunately, of a minister who does serial misconducting. And this is not just like sexual misconducting. That's what we often think of it. But they may be someone who has had bad relationships with churches on a number of occasions, and they can go into search repeatedly, and the UUA doesn't have any control over that. So this is asking them to say, we would like to have the right to suspend. So it's not saying that they're canceling or negating a minister's search, but they're suspending the search process until that person gets counseling or they go into some kind of negotiation process. So it's just trying to prevent people who have had repeatedly bad experiences from going on to yet another congregation. So it's an interesting thing. We may or may not want the UUA to have that authority. We may decide we don't want them to have the right to suspend a ministerial search. But our delegate's going to vote on that this year. So that's an important issue. Other things that are coming up is there's elections. There's the Board of Review. There's a number of positions for the Board of Trustees coming up. There's the Commission on Appraisal. The Commission on Appraisal is a very interesting group of people who every 3 or 5 years actually has to investigate some leading question within the UUA in a very in-depth way, and then they usually write a book about it, and there have been fascinating studies done by the Commission on Appraisal. Widening the circle of belonging. Is it the circling of belonging? Widening the circle was done by the Commission on Appraisal. They've done ones on whether the church is still relevant. They do fascinating things. The nominating committee is looking for people, and there's going to be a presidential search committee because we're going to have to be replacing the president. They've got 6-year terms. So those are the elections that are coming up that your delegate is going to be representing this church at the GA on the votes for those things. And then the next slide here. And these are the things that I am most involved in. I am on the Commission on Social Witness. This year there is no positions on that, so they're not up for election, but next year there are going to be 3 open positions on the Commission on Social Witness. The 2 main things, actually 3 main things that the Commission on Social Witness does is they oversee the process of sort of the justice work statements from the congregations. So they oversee the process called the actions of immediate witness. This is where any congregant with the support of their church can propose something that they think that the national people need to be aware of and work on. So this is where if we're working for, say, if we want to do something for transgender protections right here, we could actually do an action of immediate witness, write this up, take this to the General Assembly for a national vote, and that means that there's a national, on the national level, they would say, yes, we support that, and we would list a number of things that they could do to be supporting transgenders' rights, not only here, but in their own communities. We'd give them a lot of ideas. So actions of immediate witness are ways that we can get attention for issues that feel hyper-local, but can actually be really important for getting a lot more support for. This year, when I first started going to the General Assembly, this was the hottest ticket. You couldn't go to the General Assembly without getting flyer after flyer after flyer about the actions of immediate witness. This process has waned over the years. This year, we only got one submitted that met the criteria for an action of immediate witness. And it used to be that we would spend a lot of time voting, whittling them down to 2 or 3 that we could pay attention to. And it's gotten to the point, I think this is an outdated process because of technology and social media and many different reasons, but because it's in the bylaws, we still have to do it. But anyway, the one action of immediate witness this year is written by Deb Cruz from the Washington State Action Network. So it's coming from the local community, and it's defend against the assault on environmental protections, public land rules, and the endangerment finding. So that is what the Assembly gets to vote whether to adopt or not this year. If you want to learn more about it, the session, the feedback session and education session on that is happening tomorrow evening at 4:30, 5 o'clock our time. It's an online feedback session. The other thing that you should know about, and this is a 3-year process, is the Congregational Study Action Issues, and we call these CSAIs. These are actually very crucial for setting the stage for what we do in justice work across the nation. From the study, when a congregational study action issue is presented, they were presented last year at the General Assembly. They had, that whole year to write the proposal and then educate people about what the issue was. They took it to the General Assembly last year. There were 3 that met the final criteria. Lots of voting, lots of chaos. I don't know if anyone watched it last year, but after many, many mishaps and stuff, the CSAI that passed and went through is on abolition. This is a big thing. This is a big deal. And the reason it's important is that we can't go to the UUA and say, why aren't you doing anything about abolition? Because they'll come right back to us and say, because we have not been told that this is the mandate of the congregations. So if we do not do the work and think about this and come up with a statement about it, the UUA have no leg to stand on when they go to the face politicians. But if we vote something like this in, when they go, they say, this is the will of the UUA people. So they need these kind of statements coming from us. So this year, we're studying further abolition, transformation, and faith formation. And then after this year's General Assembly, then the Commission on Social Witness, we have to write a statement of conscience about that. And that goes to the General Assembly next year for vote. So the delegates next year vote on a statement that we've created out of our study about the work of abolition. With that said, I'm going to have Carbon show us a very brief video that I had put together. It's just hot off the press. It's been out for 2 weeks, explaining what abolition means.
For me, abolition is a whole spectrum. It is a faithful act, a justice-centered act, an act that seeks equity and hopefully leans all the way into reparations. It is, of course, the ending of something. We want to end our unjust systems. We want to dismantle the ways that oppression is built into the very structures that we have been taught are necessary for survival. And abolition is more than that. Yes, We pray for the day when the prison industrial complex no longer controls the lives of so many of our neighbors, members of our beloved community, members targeted particularly for their identities, their backgrounds, and their socioeconomic status. But abolition also imagines a day when we build life-affirming structures, where we build systems that promote thriving, health, well-being, and repair. More than anything else, I believe abolition calls us to resist the fear, the instilled fear that says there is no other way than the institutions we have inherited. Beloveds, it is simply untrue. Imagine who and how and what we could be together if we built societal systems grounded in our values rather than our fears. I believe we can get there together.
Universalism teaches us that no one is disposable. And so core to all that we do, core to what Unitarian Universalism calls us to, is an abolitionist theology, an abolitionist framework that will guide us in the ways that we organize and mobilize, not only our congregations, but ourselves in the ways that we live in this world. Abolition can feel scary. Abolition can feel like a pipe dream at times. But abolition isn't just our end goal. Abolition is the way in which we get there. It's the way that we build relationships. It's the way that we nurture community. It's the way that we reject punishment. We as Unitarian Universalists understand that punishment is not salvific. That is true not only in death, but in life. So abolition calls us to be creative, to be innovative, and to know that we can create a world free from suffering.
Prison abolition isn't just about tearing down buildings. It's about dismantling the narrative architecture that holds them up. Prisons are built on a myth of disposable people, and if we don't kill that story, you can close every cell today, and the system will simply evolve into a new iteration of the same outcome. True abolition requires narrative transformation. We must replace the infrastructure of stigma with the framework of dignity and economic mobility. We aren't just closing doors. We are redesigning culture so the cage is never an answer again.
Abolition means to me is accountability. I lived it. I'm a survivor, a human trafficking survivor within a criminal justice system that I worked for 20 years. The person who abused my children and I has never been accountable. Abolition to me means people being believed, having resources available to rebuild our lives and care for our children, behavioral health services that we need. That would have been helpful. Abolition means to me is totally rebuilding the system with care and love.
Well, they should have people treatment instead of being put in jail for nonviolent crimes. It's not right to have, they should have counseling and other treatment options besides what they offer in the jail.
Abolition means centering community care. It means we have a world where everyone has shelter, has sustenance in the form of food, clean water, community, that they are connected. Every single person is cared for because they are alive. An abolitionist worldview includes never caging any human being. We have accountability structures. We create ways that we hold each other in love. And we create ways to repair harm that is caused. An abolitionist worldview centers love, centers liberation, and centers community care.
For me, that then brings to that wider sense of the beloved community where we're not imprisoned by hunger, we're not imprisoned by war, we're not imprisoned by capitalism or hate or any of those things that make us smaller. And so for me, abolition is that breaking out of all the boxes, getting to a place where everyone can be exactly who they are, can change as they should be able to throughout their lives.
Abolition is everything. It is love in practice. As a minister and as a therapist for survivors, I have been asked, don't people who abuse their partners or children deserve all the punishment they can get? The trouble is, jails and prisons aren't the only punitive systems at play here. Child abuse and partner abuse are also punitive systems, operating on similar logic, using similar justifications. True abolition, true accountability, asks not what the person who did harm deserves, but what the person who was harmed actually needs.
Abolition looks like the world we dream of. The presence of the flourishing of all beings, where we respond differently as a society when harm is done. It looks like covenanted communities sitting in circles with listening hearts together.
So I think that's all we needed to talk about today, but we have time for questions if anyone has any questions. I just really want to emphasize how important it is for us to be really represented at the national level and to really pay attention to what's going on so that we can be true delegates of the congregation. So, time for questions or...
So I'll just add that as Reverend Nancy said, we have 6 delegates to General Assembly from OUUC. The number of delegates we get is based on the number of members that we have. And we have 2 delegates so far this year? 2 that I know of. So we have 4 delegates spots. Yep, you're one of them. And I think, Tiffany, you're the other. Yep. So we have 4 slots that are unfilled. And so if you're interested in being a delegate and representing OUC, this is a really easier year to do that because General Assembly is all online this year. Sometimes there's a place located, I think, is it Los Angeles next year? And, you know, there's everybody
San
travels.
Jose.
Oh, San Jose, sorry. San Jose. So folks travel and all those kinds of things. And the other thing to know is that there is a cost for attending General Assembly. And a couple of years ago at the auction, you heard about the auction, we did a Raise the Paddle to start a General Assembly fund. And so we have a scholarship fund to help people attend General Assembly, especially if they're going to be a delegate from OUC. So if cost feels like a barrier to you and you want to attend General Assembly, please contact Reverend Sarah or I, and we're more than happy to help you do that.
What are the dates?
The business session this year is going to start on Sunday, the 14th in the evening, and then... June. What did I say?
Just the 14th.
Oh, okay. June 4th. I've been doing dates wrong all week in emails. So it starts on June 14th, and on the 15th and on the 16th. The business sessions this year, and then there's a break, and then the programs start on Thursday of that week, and that's when the Ware lecture is going to be, as well as the worship services and the workshops and programming and stuff.
So I mentioned that things are changing. General Assembly typically goes from Wednesday night until Sunday afternoon, and there's business meetings and programs and stuff all intertwined. This year, they're doing all the business meetings one weekend and all the programming the next weekend. So it's an experiment, right? We'll try something different and see. So we'll try something different this year and we'll see.
And since it's all online, they are hosting, like there are some congregations that are hosting like what they call satellite sites that you can go to. So if you don't want to be sitting at home watching it on Zoom, the closest one to us is in Salem, Oregon. They're hosting the, they're going to have a satellite site there. Although people from OUUC, I'm going to be there. I have to be there. But I would anticipate trying to work out with Linda and Tiffany to actually come here and watch together. Or maybe we'll go to someone's house and watch together.
We've hosted watch parties here before. Reverend Sarah and I have done that at different times. It can be helpful to be in a room with other folks, just even watching it when it's online, because you can say, what just happened? Or do you understand that? Or, you know, what did they say? Kind of thing.
Any online questions, Carbon? Nope. Okay.
Did you want to say anything about your experience as a delegate? You're welcome to.
So my first GA was in 2020, and that was the pandemic. So it was the very first year that they pivoted from an in-person event to an online event. And I've found the online events, that hybrid sessions, to be very helpful. And what it did for me was it really opened up the world of UU outside of the walls of OUUC. I already loved OUUC in 2020, but I learned so much more about what was out there in the whole country and in the world, and the international representatives as well. I particularly love seeing Black, Indigenous, and person of color, not just in the room, but in leadership roles. I loved the multi-generational aspects, which we have here. I love seeing queer and non-binary and trans people, again, not just in the room, but in leadership positions and in important aspects of our faith community. And that, for me, just opened so much up for me. Yeah.
So I've been a delegate 3 times, excuse me, and I think I will this year too. But the first one, I did the whole, not only the business, but all of the programs and that type of thing, which I found I couldn't get to. There was so much. And so then the last 2 times I did just the business. I really enjoyed learning more. I love to find out how things work. And as you said, Tiffany, it opened a whole broader spectrum of everything. And I particularly enjoyed the year that we did have the watch parties here. It's just more of a community, and as you said, you get to talk to people and you're just more part of the community than just online. So I recommend it.
So one other thing I'll mention is that the Pacific Northwest is well represented at General Assembly this year. The Reverend Jen Rue, who is the minister at the Eugene, Oregon congregation, will be leading the big Sunday morning worship service. So that will be great. And the Reverend Sarah Lawal, who serves our congregation in Boise, Idaho, will be giving the Berry Street essay this year on, yeah, so, and her topic is what it is like to be a UU minister in a red state. Yeah. So, the Berry Street essay is for UU the Ministers Association initially, but then it gets posted on the website later so that everybody can
I
access
thought it was open to everyone.
So, pardon?
I thought it was open to everyone. I used to go when I was not a minister.
Well, so we can look up Berry Street and see. Yeah, do you know, Sarah, is it open to everybody?
Yeah, it's open to everybody, and last year they live streamed it on their Facebook page.
Yeah, so look for the Berry Street essay and look for the Sunday morning worship. The challenge we have is the Sunday morning worship this year for General Assembly is the same Sunday of the Pride March here in Olympia, and also a music service that we had planned. So we have a lot going on that morning, so we might have to figure out how to watch the GA service later. So, anything else?
That's all I've got.
You want to extinguish the chalice?
I do want to extinguish this chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth or the love we hold in our hearts for each other. Blessed be. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Carmen.